You wake to the sound of laughter. You still do not know how to trust. It drifts across the ship in the dark like it belongs there, loose and careless, the kind of sound no military ship would ever allow after midnight. You stand alone near the rail, with a transponder snail hidden in your hand, thumb pressed to the shell, one breath away from speaking into it. The sea is black. The air is cold. Behind you, the crew you were sent to monitor sleeps like they have never doubted each other for a second. Then you hear footsteps. You turn, already ready with a lie, and find the captain there, half awake, scratching his cheek, looking at you with that impossible unguarded face. "You can't sleep either?" he asks. That is all. No suspicion, no accusation, just room. Room you do not deserve. Your hand tightens around the snail until it hurts. One sentence, that is all it would take. Their course, their numbers, their weaknesses. You were trained to believe pirates are easiest to kill when they finally feel safe. The captain smiles at you like safety is something he can hand away for free. And for the first time since boarding this ship, you cannot send the message. But you were not always here. To understand what this cost, we go back to the beginning. Level 1. The clean uniform. You were a Marine long before you were a liar. Not important enough to be famous. Not high enough to change anything. Just useful, disciplined, quiet. The kind of man superiors trust because he follows orders exactly and asks questions later, if at all. You believed in structure because structure was simple. There were criminals. There were those who stopped them. You put on the uniform and the world arranged itself into lines you did not have to think too hard about. Then, the government's judicial island burned. You did not witness the whole thing, but you heard enough. The captain invaded a government stronghold, declared war, escaped, took the archaeologist back from the assassins, and lived. The reports came down cold and furious, filled with the usual language, threat level, insurrection, symbolic danger. But buried under all that was the part no one wanted to say plainly. They came for one of their own. You sat in a briefing room while officers talked about the Straw Hats like a disease. Unstable, irrational, contagious. You noticed the word they kept circling without using. Loyal. That was when your superior pulled you aside. You had the right face for infiltration, he said. Calm. Forgettable. A former Marine willing to defect for his own reasons. Get close, learn their route, report everything. When the order came, the trap would close. You accepted before he even finished. That should have meant certainty. Instead, as you walked out with your forged background and your first false name, you felt something small shift inside you. Not doubt. Not yet. Just the first hairline crack. Level 2. A place at table. You expected monsters. What you found was breakfast. The cook argued with the swordsman before sunrise. The sniper lied about sea kings he definitely had not fought. The doctor believed him for 3 full minutes. The navigator managed all of them like a storm, pretending to be human. The shipwright was too loud, the musician was too polite. The archaeologist watched everything with a softness that somehow felt sharper than suspicion. And the captain accepted you in less than a minute. No interrogation, no terms. You gave them your cover story, a former Marine disgusted by corruption, drifting without purpose, looking for a ship, The navigator was wary. The swordsman openly disliked you. The archaeologist said nothing, which was worse. The captain looked at you, grinned, and said, "Okay, you can come with us." That was it. Your entire training had not prepared you for someone who decided trust that quickly. So you did your job. You learned routines, guard rotations, if they could even be called that, weaknesses, patterns, who protected who by instinct. You memorized details at night and sent fragments through coded channels when no one was watching. And still, the ship kept making room for you. A plate left out when you missed dinner. The doctor asking if your shoulder was healing. The sniper dragging you into one of his ridiculous stories as if you had always been there. Tiny things. Embarrassingly human things. Nothing strategic. Nothing useful. You told yourself this was why infiltration worked. Familiarity softened targets. Kindness lowered defenses. Then, one afternoon, the captain fell asleep beside you on deck. No reason, no caution, just complete idiotic trust. You stared at him for a long time and realized you had stopped thinking of the crew as assets. You had started thinking in names. Level 3, the things you learn. Then, one afternoon, the captain fell asleep beside you on deck. No reason, no caution, just complete idiotic trust. You stared at him for a long time and realized you had stopped thinking of the crew as assets. You had started thinking in names. A routine supply stop turned ugly fast. A lieutenant recognized the archaeologist. Guns came up. Civilians ran. The captain smiled the way he always smiled before violence, like he had already accepted every consequence. You could have stepped back, let events unfold, observed. Instead, when a Marine rifleman aimed for the sniper while he was reloading, your body moved before your mind did. You knocked the barrel wide. The shot tore through the market wall instead of his chest. The sniper looked at you in shock. The rifleman looked at you like he knew you. That look followed you for days. Afterward, the crew celebrated the escape with food stolen so cheerfully it almost made you sick. The captain laughed, with a bruise darkening across his face. The navigator scolded everyone, while checking each wound with shaking hands. The archaeologist thanked you quietly for protecting the sniper, and you had no answer prepared for that. Back in your bunk, you opened the snail and whispered your report. You edited out the market. You edited out the moment you chose them. It was the first lie you told your own side, and it did not feel like the last. Level 4. A debt you can't pay. You began noticing what made this crew dangerous. Not strength. Plenty of people in the world had strength. It was the way they refused to calculate human worth. The archaeologist still carried the silence of the judicial island around her, but here it no longer looked like exile. The shipwright rebuilt things because destruction offended him personally. The doctor treated strangers who had just tried to kill him. The navigator pretended money mattered most, right up until someone weaker than her was in trouble. Even the swordsman, who never trusted you, watched your blind side in a fight without mentioning it once. No one on board was clean. That was what unsettled you. The government taught purity. This crew lived with damage instead. Then came the hero of the Marines' pursuit. Cannon fire split the sea behind you. Orders crackled over marine channels. Familiar formations closed in. You heard the language of your old life all around you and knew with a cold certainty that if headquarters wanted this ship erased, they would erase it with a smile. You sent another report that night, deliberately late, deliberately vague. You told yourself you needed more time, more access, more certainty. But the truth was simpler. Every delay bought them one more sunrise, and every sunrise made leaving harder. Level 5. The name in your mouth. The message meant for you arrived hidden in a supply crate. A single line. Next port. Confirm positions. Authorization for capture has been granted. Capture. Not observe, not track. Capture. You read it twice, then a third time, because your mind was still trying to find the old road back to obedience. The next island was crowded, enclosed, perfect for a coordinated strike. You could already see it. Marines in plain clothes, exits sealed, civilians used as cover, the straw hats pressed into a corner and punished for trusting the wrong man. That night, the crew ate under lantern light. The sniper argued with the shipwright over something stupid. The musician played softly. The doctor fell asleep sitting up. The captain handed you meat from his own plate like that was the most natural thing in the world. Your throat closed around it. Stories like this don't survive in government records. They get stamped over, buried under words like justice and order. If you think the ones underneath still matter, stay close. There are darker waters ahead. The navigator noticed you were quiet, asked if something was wrong. You almost told her. Instead, you said you were tired. And for the first time, lying to them felt exactly like betrayal, not duty. You looked around that table and understood the shape of the thing destroying you. If you kept your orders, they could die. If you broke them, the world you came from would mark you as a traitor forever. For hours you stood on deck with a snail in your hand. At dawn you crushed it, but broken communication does not stop an ambush already moving. Level 6. What you chose. The port was already compromised when you arrived. You saw it in the spacing of civilians, in the men pretending not to watch the ship. In the marine, signal mirrored in a shop window 3 streets inland. Professional, patient, they had not needed your final message. They had enough. You had seconds. The captain jumped to shore first, smiling at the island like it had done nothing wrong. You grabbed his arm hard enough to stop him. Everyone looked at you. The swordsman's hand moved toward his swords. The navigator's eyes narrowed. The archaeologist went still. And you said it. Every ugly piece of it. You told them your name was real, but almost nothing else had been. You told them you were sent by the Marines after the government's judicial island. Told them you had reported on them. Told them this port was a trap. You did not dress it up. You did not beg. You just stood there and let them see what had been standing among them this whole time. The silence after was worse than any prison cell. The sniper looked hurt in a way rage would have been easier to survive. The doctor looked confused. The cook lit a cigarette with hands that were too steady. The swordsman stared at you like he had been waiting for this since the day you boarded. And the captain just looked at you and asked, "Are you with us now?" Level 7. The weight of home. Not why, not how long, not what else you lied about. Now, your chest broke open around that word. Yes, you said, and it was the first completely honest thing you had given them. Then the Marines moved. The street erupted. Steel, smoke, shouting, civilians scattering. You fought your own training in real time, anticipating formations before they formed, dragging the crew through alleys before lines of fire closed. You took the hit meant for the archaeologist because you knew exactly where the sniper would aim. You turned your blade against men who had once saluted beside you. Every movement cost something. Every choice burned. By the time you reached the harbor, blood was running down your side, and your old life was gone. Good. You expected judgment after the escape. A vote, maybe. Conditions. A knife at your throat while they slept. Instead, what you got was stranger. Consequences, yes. The navigator took control of every map and communication line you had ever touched. The swordsman trusted you exactly as much as before, which was to say, not at all. The sniper avoided you for 2 days because hurt takes time to change shape. The archaeologist watched you with those unreadable eyes that miss nothing. But no one put you off the ship. And on the 3rd night, when your wound reopened because you were stupid enough to lift something heavy, the doctor yelled at you like family. The cook shoved food into your hands. The shipwright complained while reinforcing your bunk. The musician asked, with terrible timing, whether betrayal had always made you this gloomy. Then the captain sat beside you near the rail. No speech, no ceremony. You picked us, he said. It should not have been enough to forgive what you had done. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe loyalty here was not earned in one brave moment, but rebuilt in 100 small ones after. So you rebuilt it. You stood watch without being asked. You bled when they bled. You learned that belonging is not the same as being absolved. It is harder than that. Better, too. A family like this does not erase what you were. It makes you carry it honestly. And somewhere between one island and the next, the thing you feared most finally happened. The Straw Hats stopped feeling like your mission. They became your home. The question is not whether you could betray the world that raised you. The question is, what would you do if the first place that made you feel wanted asked you to become someone new?